If his name is in the Guinness Book of World Records, what more you need?
He's done so many buildings, he's done more than 100 churches, he's done almost 1,000 projects in total with more than at least 150 schools, I think.
I'm told that he goes with a hammer and then he tests the material. If it is not proper, he will ask them to demolish. What's wrong in it?
More than I noticed, he is a man of prayer also, because if you are inspired by the higher power.
He believes that if your plan is workable, any building can look good.
इसलिए परफेक्ट आदमी के साथ परफेक्ट काम करने में मजा आता है.
इसकी हेडर लाइन यहाँ से टॉयलेट ब्लॉक है, ऐसे इसके अंदर से आके इसके किनारे किनारे से ऐसे जाके
ब्रैकेट तो लगा रहा होगा.
हाँ, सारा ब्रैकेट लग के ये जाके यहाँ टॉयलेट जुड़ गया. तो टेरेस इन ऑल द थ्री.
ठीक है. और सिस्टम भी करना होगा, और जो है वो आपने वो दो बीच में दीवार आएगा
बीच में.
उसके
डोमेस्टिक हो जाएगा, फायर हो जाएगा.
और कुछ है इसमें डिस्कस करने का? बस यही है.
See, I was born in a remote part of Kerala. After my 12th, I came to Delhi to do my architecture. I came into architecture because of my elder brother. He used to explain, all about architecture, and he used to send paper cuttings and some magazine, whatever is published for me to read.
So I used to send very small paper cuttings. I used to write him, and I wanted he to be an architect. But that alone won't work. He had that highest moral responsibility to live up to the expectations. I was in a dilemma because to get an admission SPA was not that easy. First thing, there are very few seats. They have to cover all India.
I took training under Dinesh Mehta and Jayan Gandhi. At that time, they were one of the biggest firms in Delhi. So I did my training there as a drafting assistant. Then I joined some classes for doing my sketching and all that. I've been appeared for the entrance test. At that time, SPA was very tough to get into SPA at that time. It was very difficult to get in and more difficult to get out of SPA at that time.
The senior architect, head of the department, Mr. Nagadev, was a good friend of mine. He given a piece of advice. John don't have an aptitude to be an architect. was emotionally shattered. I came to him. I told him, nobody can stop you. Don't allow anybody to take the decision of your destiny.
In the first semester, it was Professor Iqbal who was taking the class, and for something which he saw my drawing and said that you will not get out of this institution. And I was young, so I felt very bad. On that day I decided that once I get out of the institution, then only I will shave my beard, and that is still retained. That is the story behind my beard. So I used to have a lot of problems with professors. According to them, we should agree with whatever they are saying. But if I am right, then why should I agree with it? That happened from first year, and that happened in final year also. In my thesis, I had a lot of trouble with my professors. Professor Sadish Grover, who was my guide, he said that you will not listen to what we say, and we don't want to listen to what you are going to say. So you do whatever you feel like. I asked him, sir, will you give me permission to present my thesis? This is the only question I asked him. He said yes. But when I presented it, and the jury, they only asked me a couple of questions, in 2 minutes time, they said fine. After the thesis was presented, he said, okay, you can go. Sadish Grover came running after me and patted on my back, saying that, well done, Ranjit. And I got the highest marks for that.
Maybe in 1999 or 2000, I happened to go to a place where they were inaugurating some ground, some buildings. I found those buildings were very nicely constructed, and I found them attractive. Then I asked them, who constructed these buildings? Then they given me Mr. Ranjit's reference.
No, initially the practice was slow. I will not say slow, it was painfully slow. And after that, I started getting projects, and it spread through word of mouth only.
So we were told that here is an architect who has done a lot of schools. So Ranjit John is known for schools and churches. Many of these buildings we can do without even light, because the ventilation is so kept. He uses the structure in such a way that maximum utilization of space is there, and then children get a lot of free space to move around. The corridors are wide enough, and then they can even have a little football around the place. So that way, children are enlightened, they feel comfortable, and they are able to enjoy being there, especially the kind of children we have been educating from the slums. And there, it is all congested, it is all dirty, whereas here the building itself is very welcoming and very hospitable.
To use bricks as an exterior material requires a lot of love and care. If you don't have good workmanship, good planning, and good control on the lines and levels and the angles and corners and the space, the gaps between two bricks, it is going to make huge mistakes. But what I've seen is, in all those things he has done, he takes personal care, and I've seen all of those things in which he has worked with brick have come out successful.
We hardly need to have much maintenance. See, all outside is stone cladding, so we don't have to do every year painting, etc.
which will seat how many people? 3,000 people auditorium, one of the largest in Haryana state. And it's very beautifully built, very clean looking. Everybody comes and makes some comment about it, about the auditorium. And we have people from outside, from America and other places. They all come and appreciate the auditorium.
The main entry of such a big building was a big problem. So this entire thing is being done as a semicircular arch, which is almost 40 feet width and about 25 feet in height. A segment of our arch is being created and put a roof above that, so that the building does not look too high from the front side where you are entering. The side blocking, this is 250 feet long building. So I tried to create by projecting a block on the side so that it does not look too long. Elevation itself is a combination of vertical and horizontal lines. Postmodernism only we are coming to know that there are other possibilities, like you can have diagonal lines also by breaking it.
He's creating an identity for himself. Even people can recognize this building. It doesn't mean that it's the same building. It's the same there, but there are something that goes back to him, and he says it's mine.
Building wise, I really liked his water treatment plants. It was so striking. Maybe it was the shadows in the photo. It was such a beautiful massing to that building. Very simple, small, but I really like that building, and that actually is a very micro version of his philosophy also.
An architect or an artist in that sense will have that artistic hunger of proving his mettle, but at the same time to be able to balance between what is practical and what is artistic. That is something Ranjit sir has done very effectively. He is able to keep a fine balance between what will look good, what will work, and what will as a whole be called good architecture. I would say he is an ideal example of a good architect.
This is the sort of people that we should have some exposure to. We should meet up with someone like this. Right now I can't fathom the idea of someone just designing because he wants to design and he doesn't want to be known. He just wants to design and design.
When I try to imagine him, I think of a person like Einstein, a person who's somewhat of a weirdo, but who's really bent into his work. So that's the sort of person I really think of.
We feel a great sense of pride in knowing that someone from SPA has achieved that level. Actually getting a world record is a very big thing for anyone.
As a wife to him, I think his biggest strength in her has been of how she has very seamlessly, silently taken care of the entire house and children without him having to even worry about it for a second.
She's been a person who's like a backbone to the whole family and to the architect that he is.
Unless someone is so devoted along with him. So success, a great part goes to Celine John.
Yes. Yes. No doubt.
Well, I don't know, it must be destiny. I don't know why he chose church as his project when you are a student, when you have no idea where you are going. It must be some kind of a destiny or some kind of premonition or some kind of a grant or a blessing that he took that particular topic, which nobody normally doesn't take, but in working in Delhi, why churches?
I believe that Mr. Ranjit John, like many students, go to college, but this person, he took his studies seriously. That's how we have this magnificent building behind us.
Ranjit John's specialty is that for the churches, he gives importance for the dome and arches. So Paulos Margari was very particular about that one, and Ranjit John followed that one. That's why Paulos was so pleased with Ranjit John, and we all have that attitude of Ranjit John in this architecture is very much appreciable.
Look, we get bills, highly inflated bills, but Mr. Ranjit John knows our pocket. We don't have such a big inflow of money, and each time he has, instructed us never to pay unless he verifies it. Recently we had a bill of 7 lakhs, he asked us to pay 1,92,000. What a relief. It's not that we are not going to pay. We will pay, but it suits our budget. It helps us to pay easily.
He is not making design for himself. He may have his own satisfaction while making the designs, but the client's suggestions also he is accepting. That's a very important thing. And it's not for money, in fact, that's all. Certain works he carried out for us. He didn't charge any money for us.
He has a social mind, so he has a consideration for social projects like us. He may not be charging the market price.
He's a very fine human being that way, He's sensitive to other people. This is what I pick up. At the same time, he also can demand exact good work from people,
Such a wonderful person.
Yeah, very pleasant and very workable person. We will never think of another architect.
People come to him again and again and again to do their churches. For example, in Orthodox Church, practically every church is done by him. Similarly, if you look at the Catholic churches, all of them come to him with repeat orders. Mother Teresa or the Jesus and Mary institutions, whenever somebody works, they continue to work with him, which is the best testimony any architect can have.
What an individual can achieve in profession, I am very sure, by the grace of God, he did it. And profession for him was a sadhana. And the every project you can see highest morality and integrity. I never heard from anybody that he ever failed to a client. If he cannot get along, he just walk off. He never even bother about the money or the laws he inquire. Great discipline, highest principle. See, to be in this profession in Delhi, most important is you can be, no extent you can be corrupt, but I can vouch. And personally, I am very proud of it.